Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining this Power Lunch. My name is Dana Wensberg. I'm a product manager here at Paperless Parts, and today we're going to be talking about BOMs, Bill of Materials. So let's quickly go over the agenda, but before that, if you have questions as I'm going through, please just funnel the questions into the Q&A, and we'll get to them after the 20-minute or so demo. We'll be able to get through, all the questions that we ask. So feel free to just drop questions into the Q&A and I will get to them afterwards. So let's get into the agenda here. So today we are talking about BOMs, right? This Power Lunch is all about helping you build BOMs quickly and build BOMs the right way for correct process planning, costing, and pricing. So there are going to be three main topics today. We're going to be talking about CAD as a starting point. So CAD model can, often contain sometimes around like 80 or 90+% of the information you need to configure the BOM, but it rarely, if ever, describes it perfectly. Sometimes the quantities can be wrong, there are unnecessary components, or the structure's off. So we're going to talk through some common use cases of how to use some tools to be able to, use what the customer gives you to its fullest extent. Then we're going to talk about flexibility is power. So BOMs can get very complex very quickly, and needing to go through a very strict workflow can sometimes be stressful, especially when you can make mistakes. So we're going to talk through all the tools we offer to make your lives easier so that you can work through the tasks of building your BOM in a way that makes sense for the specific quote package. And then to wrap up, we'll talk about some best practices and tips. While we offer a lot of tools, there are definitely ways to go through building a BOM that we recommend more than others. So we'll review those best practices and highlight some useful workflow tips to help fly through your next BOM. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the demo. So let's start with the CAD as a starting point section. So I want to show you three things. I want to show you one sec here. I want to show you the situation of a manufactured part with hardware. So say you just got like a sheet metal part with some pen fasteners, how you can deal with that using the tools we offer. Then purchased subassemblies, and then editing the CAD-extracted quantities for your parent-child relationships. So let's start with manufactured parts with hardware. So here, so this is the use case again, where say you've got a sheet metal part with a couple of fasteners in it, or you've got a machine part with some helicoils. If all of that information is in the CAD model, it'll actually come in as an assembly in Paperless Parts. The reason why is because CAD objects that represent multiple bodies need to be represented as an assembly in CAD. So we interpret it as such when we import the model. So we can see here that for this part, we have our top level assembly, and then we have two sub-assemblies in here. But these sub-assemblies are really just sheet metal parts with hardware. So we want to convert this into just a manufactured part with hardware. So what we can do is, going for each of these components, we can use our replace assembly with manufactured component. And what this is going to do is bring up all the manufactured components that are sitting beneath that sub-assembly and allow you to essentially pick what part you want to be the parent. So if we go ahead and click replace here, we're going to see our BOM structure change slightly, right? So now on the left, we've gotten rid of that top underscore SM, and now we just have that manufactured part with the pen fastener sitting beneath it. So now you can go and build out the process plan for this with your laser, bend, and insert all within that one router. Same goes for the base assemb.step here, right? We can do that same action, replace assembly with manufactured component. Here, I'm going to select the base.step and click replace. And that's going to remove that base assemb subassembly and throw those two pen fasteners beneath that base.step. This action is also available at the quote item level. So click the three dots at the quote item level, get the actions menu, and you've got that replace assembly with manufactured component action there as well. So that's a quick way to move through that. The second thing with using CAD to sort of drive a lot of this process is talking about purchased subassemblies. So let's say you're quoting like a latch or a hinge, and that is CAD'd up as an assembly within the model. So we're going to focus on this like surface mount hinge here. So as we can see, this comes in as an assembly because it's modeling both, the pin and then the flanges. What we can do here is quickly convert this subassembly to a purchase component. And this is going to open up your purchase component drawer. We're used to seeing this a lot. Just click your purchase component and click convert. And what that's going to do is it's essentially going to squash that subassembly just into a single component in your BOM, where that is going to handle all of the pricing for your purchase components. And when you have an ERP integration in place, that'll just move over as like a required material on your BOM, and you won't have to deal with deleting the individual flange and pin or any other purchase subassembly that you want to work through. And then finally, the last thing that I'd like to talk about here is editing the CAD extracted quantities. So you can see, in this bill of materials, we've got these numbers here labeled as node quantity, right? So 6111. So this is essentially what we're getting from the CAD model that says, okay, at this level, this child part has, 6 pieces for this location. I'm going to go ahead and expand this screw here. And we can see if we look over on the left, we notice that the text is being highlighted in 2 different locations. So what this means is that this component is found in more than one location in the BOM, but it's tied to like the same part entity. So when you want to edit quantities for the locations in the bill of materials, you actually need to do it on like a per parent child location basis. So while there's 6 + 2 is 8 total in the BOM, there's no place for you to say, well, actually the total quantity is 9. What you can do is go to the individual locations where this screw appears. So I'm just going to its parent and the handle is SEM here. And you can come in here and just change this number to whatever you want it to be. So you could change it to, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want it to be. And that will regenerate the prices based off of the new quantity. And we can see here now that we've got the 4 at this location. And if we expand this component, now our total BOM quantity has increased from 8 to 10, right? Because it was 6 + 2 before, and now it's 6 + 4. So those are kind of like the 3 primary main use cases for where you're getting an assembly CAD model from your customer. And then you can use that as a starting point to cover, most of the work that you need to do for when you're going through and configuring, the last few details of the bill of materials. And again, if you have any questions, please just throw them into the Q&A and I will get to them after the short demo is over. So the second section I want to get into is talking about kind of a lot of actions here and there that can help in different situations. So I want to walk through 3 sets of features and functionality. I want to talk about adding and removing components. I want to talk about moving components up and down levels in the BOM. And I also want to talk about quoting a revision of an assembly when you need to maybe change a quantity somewhere, or you need to, change a fastener or something like that. So let's go ahead and dig in on that. So I'm just going to go back to this original cabinet assembly that we were working on and scroll down to the components table. So here you see this big blue button, add components to top level. This is going to let you add purchase components, add manual subassemblies, add manufacturing components, and even upload files as new components in the BOM. So I'm just going to quickly add a manual sub here, and I'm just going to give it a fake part number, manual sub, and say there's 1 at this location in the tree. And then when you add that in, manula, not manual, right? Don't do math on live TV, folks. Anyways, so now when you have this manual subassembly, you can also come in here and add components directly to this level of the BOM. So this is really useful for, when maybe the customer doesn't provide a CAD model at all, so you can build things out manually, or you need to add, a component or a purchase component to an existing model that you get. So here, we can upload component files. What's cool about this is if the customer gives you like a bunch of files that don't really describe the entire BOM, but like you have a subassembly here, a subassembly here, a CAD model here. You can just upload these files at any level of the BOM, and it will automatically break out the structure and manage all that for you. So you can see I just uploaded the structural frame part, and it automatically broke out all the child entities underneath it. So, and just, for prudence here, I'll add a manual purchase component. Let's say we want to add a McMaster screw. We want to add 4 of them here. So we'll just add that really quickly. We'll close this out. So you can probably get a sense for how you can use these tools to, build out the BOM manually. And just like we added things, you can just delete them just as easily, right? So when you delete this, you'll get a confirm modal, just click go, and it'll go away. Additionally, you can delete both individual entities, so the manufacturing components or purchase components, and you can also delete entire subassemblies together, right? And when you delete subassemblies, it will delete all of the components underneath it as well. So this gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of adding and removing, and you can always sort of go back to where you were before. Cool, moving right along. Let's talk a little bit about the move up and down a BOM level action. So a really good example, common example that I like to work through here is, let's say you get a CAD model from your customer, but it comes in entirely flat. So this is that same file that we just worked through, but now we can see that all of the components are coming in just as a flat list beneath the top level. So what we're going to need to do here to emulate, the proper parent-child structure is we're going to need to select some of these components and move them down a level in the BOM. So we know that because we just worked through it, that this PF32 needs to go beneath top dot step. So I'm going to hit this actions menu here, go to the move down a BOM level action. And now it's going to say, well, pick which component in the same level that you want it to go beneath. We know that it needs to go beneath top. And here, what it's asking for you is saying, so after you perform this action, how many of this fastener do you want to remain at the level it's currently at? And how many do you want to be at the level beneath? So where you're going to go. So we can see here that by default, it says, I don't want to keep anywhere at the current level I'm at, and I want to move all the pieces to the level below. So if we said, well, actually, I want to leave a couple behind, we can see that we're calculating the BOM quantities before and after. So we can say before this action, it's at 4, and after it's at 6. So this is just like a good gut check to help you understand like how the quantities in your bill of materials might change as you're moving things up and down. But of course, we know we want to move all of them. So we're going to say 0 remain at this level. All 4 are going to get thrown down. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can see now in the tree on the left that PF32 is now sitting beneath top. This is also available as a bulk action. So we know these other 2 pen fasteners we want to throw beneath base. So we're going to select both of them and then open up our actions dropdown and click move down a BOM level. And then we're going to put these beneath base.step. So these are, again, the same interface. It's asking you how many do you want to keep at the current level? How many do you want to move down a level? We know we want to move all 8 of the F632s and all 4 of the F440s. So we're going to go ahead and click move. And now, voila, we have a BOM structure that looks essentially identical to the BOM structure that we put together from the indented CAD model. So that's how you use the move down feature to help reconcile a flat BOM that's provided to you by your customer. Additionally, so there's the move up a BOM level tool, which is the exact opposite, right? And it kind of works as like a nice undo tool for your move down a BOM level. So just like we saw before with the move down, you have an action called move up a BOM level. And you can simply just move those components back up to where they were previously. So we can see here that F440 is now back at the top level where it was originally. Another really cool utility of the move up a BOM level tool is allowing you to quote components on their own. So let's say for the situation, which we see commonly, is that a customer says, I want you to quote me for the entire assembly. And I also want to know what the price is just to buy an individual subassembly or an individual part within that assembly. So in paperless parts, the way that you would accommodate that is you would just quote that assembly, soup to nuts completely once as one big unit in paperless parts. And then what you would do is you could use the move up a BOM level tool. So let's say that the customer wants a price separately for top.step as well as top.step included in the entire assembly. What you can do is, again, use that move up a BOM level tool. And since this is sitting at the first level of this assembly, when you move this up a level, it'll actually pull it out and create a separate line item in the quote. But if we remember back to when I was discussing what this selector, what this input form does here, where essentially saying, how much do you want of this piece do you want to remain at this level after the action is performed, and how much do you want to be at the next level? So if we just say, well, actually, I want to leave one here, and I also want to bring one out. When we do this action, it's going to leave this line item that you've created totally unaffected, right? We still got the top.step with the same quantities and the same pricing and everything in there. But now we have a new line item, top.step, with all that information copied, right? So this is a very simple example, obviously just a sheet metal part with a single piece of hardware. But you can imagine how much time this could save you if it's a really complex BOM with some really complex sub-assemblies. So that's one tool in this tool set in particular that we see a lot of our customers get a lot of usage out of. Cool. So moving right along, last thing I want to show you in this section before we quickly move over some tips and tricks is how to deal with quoting a revision of an assembly. So what I've done is I've taken that cabinet assemb.step and I've just sent a quote out to a customer. So let's say the customer comes back and say, hey, I actually need to use a different fastener for one of the fasteners I had before in the project, just for some reason or another. So what you would do is you would just, very like we're used to, we would do actions, create a revision. And so now we've got a new revision of this quote and say, okay, I know I need to change one of my fastener references to be, let's say this, the F440, F4-440 needs to actually just be an F-440. So when I go to try and change this purchase component reference, it's not going to let me do it, right? It's going to say, you can't change this purchase component because this part is being referenced by multiple quote items. So in paperless, when you're building out a BOM, you're actually building out a part structure. And then that part structure can be quoted as many times as you want. So like when you make a revision or you make a copy of a quote, it's going to be referencing that same underlying part structure. So if you want to change details on the part structure, you essentially need to break that link to the previous line items that you have. So all you need to do is go up to the actions menu for the quote item and just say replace referenced part with new version. What this is going to do is essentially give you a fresh copy of this assembly that's been entirely replicated in all forms, but now it's entirely on its own. It's not, if you like changing data here is not going to have any implications of previous line items you've worked on. And so now it's you have all these actions available to you. You can quickly change this purchase component. Again, I want to switch it to the F440. We can change that. And now, everything's hunky-dory and our BOM is looking the way we want it. And then we can send this quote out to the customer. This behavior pattern is going to hold true for, any other type of manipulation you need to do, whether it's, adding and removing components, changing a structure to stuff like that. So let's do a little bit of review, right? So we talked about 6 things so far today. We talked about CAD as a starting point. How can we use CAD as a starting point to deal with like sheet metal parts with hardware or like machine parts with helicoils? How do we deal with purchase subassemblies, and how do we edit the CAD-extracted quantities? And then we talked about some, actions that allow you to move through the BOM building experience in a flexible manner. So adding and removing components, moving down a BOM level, moving up a BOM level, extracting subassemblies out to their own line items for quoting separately, and then the workflow of what you need to do to make changes to the BOM structure in an assembly when you're quoting a revision. Quickly to go over some, tips and tricks with the last 30 seconds to a minute or so. We really recommend that you go ahead and set up the CAD structure before you start assigning processes, materials, and finishes to the different items in the BOM. The reason for that is every time you do one of these actions where you move something around, we need to recalculate all that information. So if that information isn't there yet, those actions become a lot snappier and a lot faster to move through. Be on the lookout for actions that are, irreversible. So things like deleting components, things like marking a subassembly as a purchased component, things like replacing an assembly with manufactured components. Those are actions that you really can't undo. The only way to get back to the state that you were before was to re-upload the CAD model. When in doubt, you're not really sure what an action is going to do. For any of these actions that you have, whether it's like a delete or a move up or a move down, they're all going to have a second action for you to tell the system that you're confirming it. So that first click, you're not going to break anything. So don't be afraid to explore and see what this does, and read the descriptions. We offer really detailed descriptions on what each of these actions do. So if you're unsure, just pause, slow down, read the descriptions, and they'll tell you what you need to know. And if you want to experiment and you're still a little bit nervous about things going wrong, you can always just deep copy a quote item, which will give you a fresh part structure. You can mess with that to the nines, and it's not going to mess with anything with your original line item. So if you want to run an experiment, just deep copy it, try the action that you're curious about, and then you can, once you figure that out, you can move back to the original line item and do the right thing there. So those are the tips and tricks that we like to recommend. So that kind of concludes the demo portion. So we can move on to Q&A. Again, if you have questions, please just drop them in the Q&A section of the webinar. We already have one coming in from Cliff. When manually uploading assemblies, is there any way to tie together components so they don't need to be uploaded multiple times? Really awesome question there. So let's go ahead and show you how to do this. So let's say you have a manufacturing component that's going to appear in multiple locations. So let's just add a manual manufacturing component here. Let's call it, manual MFG. Let's give it a milling process. Let's say we're doing it at a 661, and we have one of these here. So when we create this, we see that it comes into the BOM here. And when we expand it, this is going to be in this location in the BOM, and we've got all our ops here. So if you want to be able to maintain this reference in a different location, so what we could do is, let's say, let's set this to 2. And let's say we actually need to also have this manufacturing component sit beneath another component in the BOM. So what we can do is we can actually say, let's move down a BOM level here, and let's actually throw this beneath, top.step. What we can say is, I actually want to keep 1 at this level, and I want to have 1 sit at the lower level. So now when I do this action, we effectively have created a reference that is in 2 places. So now when I expand manual manufactured part here, we can see that it's the same component in 2 locations in the BOM. So now I can go through and quote this out and do all my process planning for this, and it's going to be referenced in 2 different locations, so you don't have to quote it twice. So Cliff, hopefully that answered the question. Give me a little bit of ammo on if I didn't. Cool. So next one coming in, can you arrange BOM by item number? So yeah, good question there. So let's go to this bill of materials, just because it's a little bit bigger to see. So the bill of materials in this assembly components view is ordered alphabetically by different component type. In the tree over here, this is ordered by the position of the parent-child relationship in the structure. So if you were to open up, this CAD model in a CAD system, This is a lot closer to what you would see there. This is designed to help you kind of move through more quickly. So if you wanted to search, you can search this BOM by both part number and file name. So to answer the question, can you arrange the BOM by item number? You can't like drag and drop the positions of the nodes here, but you can search the BOM based on the part number you associate and or the file name that came in from the CAD model. So again, hopefully that answered the question. Let me know if you want some more detail there. Cool, so we got another one here. Are all components auto-generated as soon as you insert the model? Does it work with a 2D drawing as well? So we won't auto-generate any type of bill of materials when you drop in a like a PDF or like a TIFF file. We're not going to be like lifting the BOM structure off of the, off of like the BOM table in like the top right or bottom left of that print. So I guess the answer would be no with the 2D drawing, something we're thinking about though. So I like where your head's at, Srock. But yes, all the components will be auto-generated right when you drop in the model. I didn't show that off. But yeah, I mean, so to get to here, I just dragged and dropped these step files into the sidebar and it automatically breaks that out for you. Cool. So Steve, can McMaster-Carr be loaded in like PEM? So that's a great question. And we hear that all the time. Currently it cannot. But if you would like to give McMaster-Carr a call and say that you'd like that, that would really help us out. Currently, no, you can't tie in McMaster-Carr products like you can with pen fasteners, but that's certainly a good idea. We hear about that one a lot. So unfortunately, that's a no. But again, something we're thinking about. Cliff with another one. Can quote items be rearranged on the customer quote? So the quote item order that you see in your version of the quote and the version of the quote that the customer sees either in a PDF form or in the digital quote are going to be synced, right? So the order of the quote items that the customer is going to see is going to be the same as the order of the quote items that you see. So like if I wanted to, move this down here, you just drag and drop it to here, and then that change will be reflected in the customer quote, Cool. Can you associate PDF of parts in an assembly? Yes, you can. So at any level, you can add supporting files. So let's say you had if you had one print for the entire assembly, you could just drop that in as a supporting file right in this section of the application. Or if you had like prints for specific, manufactured components beneath it, you could also store that information. You could upload those files directly to those child parts in the BOM. And let's say you had maybe the customer didn't provide you any models. You can always, upload a print. Let me just grab one real quick. Part files, just grab a random PDF. So if I just drop this in here, so I've just dropped in a PDF, and let's say that this is actually an assembly. What you can do is, so let's just expand this so we can see it, right? What you can do is just convert this to an assembly, make this an assembly. And now, this is the primary file on that assembly there. And then you can just start adding your components manually beneath it. And then you can add, and as you're uploading other files, you can associate, prints to those models as well, or prints to those items in the BOM as well. So Srock with another one. Can each component's tree transfer to JobBoss to develop the router work center for production? So yes, with our integrations, what we'll do is recreate the parent-child structure in JobBoss with, the quantity per for each of the locations in the bill of materials. And then, there should be only a few button clicks from there for you to be able to, confirm the information and then move it into, release it to the floor. But, we do encourage people to do, process planning in paperless to the extent at which you need to process plan for quoting. So this is definitely not like a production, process planning software. We want you to get close enough. And then the whole utility of the integration is to move that into the ERP system. So, you're not rebuilding and clicking a million times. It's just a lot less effort. Another question here. What's the difference between an assembly and a part with subcomponents? So this is the $1 million question. And if you've been around the platform for a while, you know that this has been one that's had a lot of friction around it. Functionally, it's really mostly just for the label and also for aspects of automation with generating routers. So if something is assigned as an assembly in paperless, there is extra logic that can happen to, generate specific routing steps that may only apply for assemblies, right? So, like a final QA or final assembly step. But in terms of functionally, really the difference between an assembly and a manufactured component with subcomponents is whether you want to call it an assembly or not. So in paperless, whether something is a manufactured component or an assembly, you can add components as children to them sort of at will, either way. What we see in terms of best practices is that if something has a child component that is manufactured, something that you actually need to make, whether it's a machine part or a fabricated part, then the parent should be called an assembly, and that aligns most directly to the the definition of an assembly in ERP systems and manufacturing at large. So we usually we recommend that you use the manufactured component with subcomponents for things like parts with hardware. And anything that's more complex, where you actually have parts beneath it that you need to assemble together, that's when you should use an assembly. Another question. So you can't combine them as supporting document in child parts. So I think if that's a follow-up to an initial question before, I'm not sure what you mean by the word combine, but for any subcomponent in the bill of materials, you can attach, supporting files. So if you wanted to go through and manage each of the individual, documents for the different components in the bill of materials, I know this is just a pen fastener, but this is representative of any type of a subcomponent in the BOM. You could assign those at those different levels. So when you say combine, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Maybe additional color on that question would be useful. On the left-hand side. You can't. One sec here. Allie, help me out. Is that left hand, the 3 dots? Is that the follow-up to that question?
So I'm not sure. Also, I don't know why the name is displaying as me.
Yeah, okay.
The names got a little mixed up. So I'm not sure who's asking this question. Apologies, can't really provide any more context.
Oh, okay. Let's get back to that one. And we can keep poking at that. So Becky asked, can you copy a manufactured part and its BOM and routing from one quote into another quote? Yes, you can. So actually, and this is brand spanking new right off the press. Hot off the press. So we actually have a new workflow called import historical work, where you can search your library by part number or file name. So we've seen cabinet assembly 100 times. You can then import that information into this quote, and then you can use that in context with the merge action. So let's say, you wanted to insert this as a sub item into another assembly. What you could do is you could just select multiple actions and say, merge these two things together. And you can say, which one do you want your top level to be? And so what that'll effectively do is pull all the information from that in. We can see that this is being referenced in multiple locations, so we weren't able to do that. But to remedy that, we would create a new version of this BOM config box here. Answer that question is you can't. I wouldn't call it really copy, but there's a workflow of you can import a manufactured part and its BOM and routing from another location into the quote, and then you can drag and merge that into an existing line item in that quote. Cool. So when you import a step with hardware, it makes it an assembly. Yes, it does. So that's what I was trying to explain closer to the beginning of the discussion, where there's really no way for us to discriminate between whether so this is where the whole CAD versus manufacturing definition of an assembly comes into play. So in CAD, an assembly is simply kind of a managing element for multiple geometric bodies that sit beneath it. So in CAD, CAD doesn't really care if those entities that sit beneath it are a sheet metal part, a machined part, a helicoil, a PEM fastener. So we have to sort of take the information that's in the CAD file at face value. So that's why when you drop in a step file that's just, a sheet metal part with hardware, it'll initially call it an assembly. And that's why we gave you, why we gave you the new action to quickly just say, okay, well, this is actually just a sheet metal part with hardware. Let's replace the assembly with a manufacturer component and quickly squash that behavior. So now it's just, the sheet metal part with the hardware beneath it. So a little bit of annoying step there, but again, the reason for that is we need to sort of take the information that we get out of the CAD model at face value. Cool. So
these other questions were from Tim Guest, Dana.
Okay, so Tim, seems like we got a never mind, got it, thanks. Help me out. Give me a thumbs up that if you're good, or I should answer more questions here. While we wait for Tim to get back to us here. Any other questions from the group? Still got plenty of time to go through it. I'll give it till 12:40. I can wait. Okay, this is Dustin. I'm good. I think many of us are logged in as Allison. Hey, Dustin. Sorry about the confusion there. Yeah, it's hard for me to articulate exactly what you're trying to find out. So we can figure that out later. So I'll give us another minute or so to have some more questions filing. BOMs really, I guess, aren't that complex then, if we don't have any questions. We'll give it till 40. All right, so that's curtains for questions. Thanks for asking. That was a lot of fun. A lot of good questions that came in. So just to wrap things up here, just wanted to plug our customer referral program. So customer championship program. So if you've got any shops around you or on the other side of the country, or whoever that you think could benefit from using our software, if you submit a referral through our website through this referral program, you can get paid for those referrals. So we immensely appreciate any people that any shops that you send our way. So we want to make sure that you get compensated for that, because that means a big it means a lot to us. Another thing I'd like to talk about is we have a user conference coming up, and we recently got a group rate for a local hotel at the Harborside Inn. So if you're looking to come into Boston for that user conference, you can save some money by staying at that hotel. You can find more information on that on our website, and we'll send some information in a follow-up. And We will also have a survey that's coming out after this webinar to talk, ask some questions about how it went and maybe what you would want to see next for the Power Lunch series. So please fill that out if you have a moment to spare. That helps us out a lot. But other than that, thanks so much for stopping by. If you want to get in touch with me directly, my email is just dana@paperlessparts.com. Be happy to answer any questions. And a recording of this will be on the website. So if you want to share this with any members of your team, we can get that to you, no problem. So other than that, I think we're good to go. Allie, help me out if I missed anything.
No, I think you're good.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Let's have a productive rest of the week, and we look forward to the next one. Thanks, everyone.